Hey, welcome to the Because Business is Personal podcast, the podcast where empathy meets marketing strategy. I'm your host, Mike Caldwell, but I'm also known as the Marketing Medic. Now, the reason for that is because before becoming a marketing strategist, I actually worked as a paramedic for 12 years. And it was during that time that I realized how important it was to truly understand the problems your patient was facing before you started providing treatment. And it's this same understanding, this same empathy is just as crucial when it comes to understanding our prospects and making sales. And that's why in each episode, we'll dissect the art of empathic marketing, exploring how top professionals infuse empathy into their strategies to build stronger relationships, boost their sales, and make a lasting impact. So buckle up and prepare to turn up the dial on your marketing effectiveness. As we gear up to dive deeper into the realm of empathic marketing, I'd like to share a couple of special offers with you. First, you can get a free copy of my international best-selling book, Empathic Marketing. You only need to cover the cost of shipping. Reading this will provide you with a much more in-depth understanding of the empathy-based marketing approach that we explore in this show. Next, I'm offering a 50% discount on a transformative 30-minute gap analysis session with me. During the session, we'll identify the hurdles in your marketing efforts, and together we'll develop an actionable roadmap aimed at winning you more clients and making you more sales. Just visit my website, www.becausebusinessispersonal.com to grab your book, or use coupon code PODCAST to take advantage of my gap analysis offer. So why wait? Let's start turbocharging your marketing strategy today. Now, let's get started with our episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Because Business is Personal podcast. Today we have Michelle Vandepas, who is an accomplished professional who captivates with her empowering message and unwavering support. As a seasoned author, speaker, and coach, she has a wealth of experience and profound insights into publishing, online marketing, and living with purpose. Michelle lives in the mountains of Colorado, as I once did, where she lives with her family, 40 goldfish, and I'm going to have to ask some questions about those goldfish, and the occasional mountain lion or bear. Oh my. Michelle is often walking through nature, thinking of new ways to help her clients live their most authentically successful lives, and also grounding herself in the beauty of the world around her, whether at home or through her travels. So, welcome, Michelle. So excited to have a fellow Coloradian here with me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Very cool indeed. So the book I wrote is called Empathic Marketing, and my podcast is called Because Business is Personal. So clearly I like to dip into the human side of things. So before we get into all things business, my first question is, what is something non-business related about you that our listeners may find interesting or quirky? And if it involves 40 goldfish, I'd love to hear that answer.
I was going to say, so I got a couple of stories, but 40 goldfish is pretty cool. So you're from Colorado. You may know about the growing domes where you have, they're big, like translucent greenhouses that will go through mountain storms. And you can put a big fish tank in there, and the idea is that you can grow tilapia or something, right?
Wow. Okay.
And then you use that water to, garden.
Okay.
But I put 99-cent goldfish in there, and I've had some of them for a decade now, and they're like this big.
Okay.
And they keep propagating.
Okay.
Babies. So I've got like 6 little babies like this from this year, and then I have like huge goldfish. They act like koi and they swim around. They're super cool, and I go up there when I need a moment of zen.
Wow. And so I had like one goldfish growing up in my little goldfish bowl, and I had to change the water all the time. And that was a pretty involved process, just changing we had to take the goldfish out of the one jar and put it in another one. How do you do that with?
I don't. I just don't. So probably should. Don't send me hate mail, please. Nobody. But what we do is we have an aerator in there, and we got a fountain that circulates the water, and I think that helps. And then I put some live plants in there once in a while, and I think that helps. And so the
Okay.
water can get a little dirty, but eventually it cleans itself out.
Oh, cool. It's more of a natural environment.
It's a very, yes, that's a good way to put it. It's a holistic, natural environment.
Okay. Well, why don't you hit me with another non-business interesting Michelle fun fact?
I took my daughter to be an extra in a movie one time with Robert Redford and Jane Fonda, and she didn't get to be cast, but I did.
Oh no.
And yeah, so I asked her, "Is it okay if I go?" She's like, "Yeah." She was like, I don't know, maybe 14 or something at the time. In Florence, Colorado. Do you remember Florence from your days here? Tiny little town south of Colorado Springs.
Right. Yes. I didn't get,
So
I spent most of my time like in the heart of the Rockies, so I didn't get too
yeah,
far that way.
tiny little town, and they filmed down there. And I went down for like 3 days of filming, and it was super fun. And I'd never been on a film set before, and I was a waitress or cafe owner, and all of this, and partying food to all the celebrities in the movie, not as a caterer. And
Yeah.
then the movie came out. My whole family gathers around, and we're glued to it, right? And you see me changing. The opening scene is I'm changing from the cafe sign from open to closed. And we're like,
Wow.
oh, this opening scene. That's so cool. You can't see my face or anything. And then we watch the whole movie, and that's it. I got like, I think it's like that. I had like a half a second in the movie. You can't even see my face, but it was super fun.
Well, I was actually in a movie in Colorado as well, and I was on the screen much longer, but you couldn't see me. And so when I was in Colorado, I was a paramedic. I was a firefighter paramedic, and I also worked on some of the movie script on some of the movies that were filmed there. And so I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was Danny Glover and Dennis Quaid. And Danny Glover was a
Nice.
he was a serial killer,
Ooh,
and he had this really cool car where he had like all like nudie pictures of girls like that upholstered his front seat of his car, and he used to kill people by slashing their femoral arteries. Anyway, and Dennis Quaid
ooh,
was the cop that was chasing after him. And anyway, the scene that I was in, they're on a train just north of Vale, and they were fighting. Danny Glover and Dennis Quaid. They weren't there when I was there. There was the stunt doubles, but they were fighting on the roof of the train, and we had to do all these like test shots and test shots. There's a whole bunch of us crammed into this caboose. And then when we were finally ready to shoot the scene, like, okay, everybody off the caboose, everybody, gone. So I started to leave. They're like, where are you going? I'm like, you said everybody off. It's like, no, the director and the medic stays in the caboose. So everybody else
wow.
had to get off, and we had to like huddle down so you couldn't see us while, the Dennis and Danny stunt doubles were fighting on the roof above us. So yeah, I was in the movie for a couple of minutes, but you couldn't see me because I was hidden
Yeah, that's
in the
how fun
caboose.
was that? Yeah.
Yeah. And I did. I met Danny Glover. I treated him a number of times. The dry air in Colorado really bothered his nose, and so he kept getting
Uh,
nosebleeds. He got a lot of nosebleeds up there just from the dry air. But
yeah.
anyway, that's you couldn't see I was there. All right, so let me tell me a little bit about your business and what you do.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a book publisher.
Okay.
But what that really means is I help people get their message out, live their purpose through some usually business or entrepreneurial venture, and a book usually is part of that. How do you
Okay.
get your message out? And you have a fabulous book, right? Empathetic Business. Did I get that
E-
title correct?
Empathic marketing. Empathic
Empathic
marketing.
marketing. I love
Yes.
that title. I just love it. So I'm sure we're going to talk about that. And so it's part of your message. It's part of your foundation. It's all kind of part of your. And so I coach a lot around how do you bring your message, your purpose, your meaning, and your business together and find all the different ways to find your audience. And a book is part of that.
Okay. Yeah, because I think a lot of people publish their book with the plan of that's going to be their business, like their book, right? But it's
Right.
really just a glorified credit card, or not credit card, business card.
The
That
business card, yeah.
business card that gives you a published author gives you some decent authority, right?
Totally. And, people will buy from you because you have a book, or they
Right.
will be impressed because you have a book, even if they never read the book.
That's right. That is so true. So, what motivated you to become what you are today? And have you had any regrets since making that decision?
So, as an entrepreneur, I think all of us have some sleepless nights on occasion, right? And
Yes.
so I don't think I have regrets. I don't think I had another choice, really. I've been doing this, not the book piece, but I started in marketing like in the 90s. I had a couple of small businesses and I was helping other people market their businesses. And when you're helping other people market, so much of that is coaching.
Right.
Um, because you have to like ask questions and listen and find out how they want to market. And, I'm going back a ways here. Like, forget the internet. We're talking about putting flyers up at grocery stores, right? And you're figuring out how to get the word out about your business. And that just sort of naturally morphed into what I do now, which is coaching and consulting and helping people grow their businesses through what I would call a holistic approach, an aligned approach, and using books and podcasts and all those other things to help get your message out.
Okay, and you kind of touched on it with like the with the flyers and different things, but since you have been doing this for so long and sort of not, yeah, I guess I think I got my first email address in maybe like 1999 or something. So the internet wasn't really that big, in the 90s. So
Right.
how has what you do changed? Can you sort of compare and contrast like the pros and cons from them? Because everybody thinks it's so hard now, but like how does it compare and contrast to the to earlier days?
Yeah, what's interesting is on the outside, everything's changed, but internally, nothing is. You're still doing business with people. You still have to make connections. You still have to look at people in the eye. I mean, yeah, you can like set up your shopping cart and hope people like click and buy, but there has to be people underneath that. Um, AI is not going to take over the world. That's my personal view because we still need that interaction. We still need human connection. And so none of that has changed. I talk all the time about think how your great grandparents did business. Think about going to some rural community and you go to a farm stand. How do those people do business? That's really at the root of all of it. And so none of that has really changed. If you're struggling in your business, it's probably a lead thing, my guess. I mean, it could be all kinds of things, but it might be you don't have enough leads, you don't have enough clients. And the way to fix that is go talk to more people,
Okay,
right? Which is what you and I are doing right now. We're both
exactly, and
expanding, we're both expanding our reach, our network. Hopefully, we're having some fun doing it.
yeah,
And so none of that has changed. Yeah, the internet has changed. It's really crowded and busy out there, but there's more people to sell to. So you still have to find your sweet spot, your niche.
okay. It's I see you did a TED talk. I want to ask you about that in a second. But I am applying to get my own TED talk now, like you say, to reach out, get that exposure. And you know what my of course you don't know. I'll tell you. My TED talk is entitled "AI may be the future, but human connection will always be the present." And
There
that's
you
what you just
go.
said.
I love see. We're in the same. So I heard a podcast yesterday with the guy who started Khan Academy,
Okay. What's that?
talking about
What is that?
KHAN Academy. It's like the biggest
Oh,
school, YouTube. Like if you want to learn about a math equation, you go to Khan Academy and they'll just teach you for free,
oh,
right?
okay, cool. All right.
Um, but he's talking about future of AI and business, and it's like he's building this thing out that's like Star Trek, the holodomes. What were they? God, it's been a while
Hologram,
since
holodeck.
I
Yes.
did that. And they're like, well, that actually sounds super fun, right? To go on the so there's pieces of AI. I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm not quite there yet, but it's never going to replace these kinds of conversations.
No, and I'm actually using Chat GPT more and more every day. and it's just my research assistant now. And so I still
Right.
make those human connections one-on-one because those are necessary. But before, when I wanted to learn about my audience, I'd have to go into all the different Facebook groups and read the comments and ask questions, wait for responses, go into Amazon, look at my competitors' books, see what the book comments are to get an idea of who my audience is. And now chat,
Means
I
you
think this,
GPT chatted me.
what's that?
You GPT chatted me.
Did
You
I?
put my name in GPT chat to find out to prepare. That's what I'm asking, right?
Oh, no, I did not do that. I did not do that because Chat GPT is only, yeah. So it only goes back. It's 2 years before now and prior to that,
Right.
so it doesn't have a lot
Right.
of new stuff. So if I wanted to talk
Right.
to you now, it wouldn't know the last 2 years about you, and that's
Okay,
the most
got it.
important stuff,
Yeah.
right? But
Right.
for my customer avatar, it can do a lot of the research a lot faster than I could before. And so a lot of the stuff I teach is from Eugene Schwartz's Breakthrough Advertising, which is a really famous marketing book. And Chat has read that. So I can ask Chat, I'm like, based on Eugene Schwartz's Breakthrough Advertising problem awareness scale, where is my audience in X, Y, and Z? And it'll give me that answer based on how I asked it. And so now when I talk to my avatar, I can speak to them at the level that they're at. And so it's very helpful for those reasons.
Well, I can't wait to watch your TED Talk on it.
Yes. Yes. All right. Let's see what my next question is. So, oh, can you share an interesting story about a major challenge you faced in your business, and what did you do to overcome that?
There's been so many. So, in the middle of COVID, we lost books on the docks and in the
Oh,
tankers and in China and all that stuff, right?
oh no.
Um, Publishers had supply chain issues and books lost. Um, I don't know if I'm allowed to really say who, but there's one big distributor of books that everybody knows that's a pain in the frickin' butt.
Oh no.
And
Okay.
and as a book publisher, when you have just really one or two places where most people buy their books,
Right.
and you have to be on their platforms, it's really difficult as an entrepreneur to like have all your eggs in one basket, right? I
Right.
hate that. I don't like that. And so I'm always looking for other ways to get books out and other ways to distribute. And what are other ways that you can connect with your audience and where else can you sell it? Because otherwise we're just relying on like Amazon or
Right.
Barnes and Noble or whatever the equivalent is in Canada, or
It's
you
the
know
same too. Yeah. Yeah.
WH Smith in the UK, right? And as an entrepreneur, you can't put your eggs in one basket. So that's one of the things that keeps me up at night still,
Right.
worrying about that. And then, of course, always, I think for every entrepreneur is how do you get enough leads? How do you get the right leads? How do you get the right leads faster?
Right.
And I don't even like to call them leads. And I think this speaks to your language. How do you find your clients and your future customers who need what you have, right?
Right.
And so the background is lead, but that sounds so cold and harsh. And
Yeah.
really what I'm looking for are the people that need what I have and we're a good match.
Okay. I have a real estate coach client. So he's a realtor coach. He teaches other realtors how to be better realtors. And realtors are all about their database, right? Well, how big's your database? And like you, he hates that term. He's like, no, you don't need a database. You need between 50 and 100 ultimate humans in your life. So
Yeah,
he likes to call his database ultimate humans, and he treats them like ultimate humans. He doesn't treat them like data, right? And that's a
right.
huge difference when you look
Big
at it that way.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you do when your books disappeared off the docks? Like, how did you overcome that?
We all cried a lot.
Just crying
we,
works. Yes, crying's very helpful.
our clients were like yelling at us, and there's nothing we could do. Like everybody was just so burned out during COVID. It's like it's
Yeah.
hard to remember, and it wasn't that long ago. 2021, books just were not getting shipped from various places. And the end of 2020, things were just stuck. If you guys remember, we saw pictures of tanker ships just stuck in canals, right? A
That's
lot
right.
of those were full of books.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and supply chain issues. We all thought it would be toilet paper. Well, it was books, amongst other things.
Okay.
Um, and so, you have an author who's so excited for a book launch, and then their books don't arrive, and there's nothing we can do. We're like, it's out there in the middle of the ocean somewhere. It was hard. And the only thing you can do is tell the truth and try to work through it together. There's really
Right.
nothing else you can do.
So as a book publisher, it sounds like you're in a David and Goliath situation. So like, how do you
Speak of,
compete against Amazon? Like, how does that even work?
right. Well, you can't. You have to put your eggs in their basket
Okay.
and sell through Amazon. You can't compete with them. So we publish as through Amazon as well as through other places, right?
Okay.
And they take their cut. That's true of the bookstore too. They take their cut, and
Right.
distributors take their cut, and printers take their cut, and then if someone returns a book, everybody loses that whole cut,
Right.
right? And so it's not a question of competing, and I think this is probably true with most businesses. It's finding out who you have to play with, like in our
Right.
case, Amazon. And then who else can you play with? And what other baskets can you find, or what other playgrounds can you find? And where is what is our niche, and what is our specialty, and what is our gift to the world? And how, as a company, can we go serve the people that need us and not just rely or compete on one place like Amazon, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's such a huge lesson as entrepreneurs. Like before I got into marketing to the degree I am now, Google came up with some new rules, and the big Google slap, it's called, right? So
It's
everybody was
Google
just
Slack,
making,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
they were making money hand over fist with Google. Then they just this Google slap, and they shut everybody down, and so that flow of cash was just stopped. And then a lot of them moved, said, "Oh, well, we've got Facebook. We'll just move over to Facebook." And so they just did. They just moved everything to Facebook. And then a couple of years later, Facebook came out with all these restrictions. And I had one client, we just lost our account, and we weren't breaking any rules. And
Right,
Facebook
right,
doesn't care. Like we tried to ask them, they're like, well, just start another, like we can't reactivate your account, but if you want to start a new one, you could do that. I was like, I'll happily do that, but I'm going to keep doing what I was doing. And you said I couldn't do that. Just please tell me what I was doing wrong, and they won't
right,
tell you, right?
right.
So you got to be
And
diverse.
there's no, and you get a, there's a thing, hang up and call again. You'll get a different person. Amazon's like that. Facebook, you don't get people, but if you just keep trying, and keep trying, hang up, reach out, reach out, reach out. Eventually, maybe you'll get someone who knows the answer, but maybe never. I had 700 reviews of mine taken down from Amazon because someone complained that I was in the industry. And so
Oh,
700 reviews were pulled.
jeez.
On. Nothing I could do about it. There's enough time has passed that I don't tear up when I talk about it anymore.
Oh
But
no,
that was a hard thing, and there was not a thing I could do about it. Sorry, someone
no.
complained. You're in the industry. You can't leave reviews. And I actually wrote them all before I was in the industry. But I mean, I was always kind of in the industry, but before I had my own publishing company.
Right. Holy smokes. But that's also another valuable lesson is just to never quit and keep trying. Like say, hang up and call again.
Yeah, right. I haven't called again. Try again. Yeah, you
Yeah,
never know.
we live off the grid here, and I
Nice.
and that so that we started that 20 years ago. And so my biggest story for that is when we wanted to we needed a deep well. So we had a deep well, we needed a pump. And the inverters that you use to convert the direct current from your battery to alternating current, they were smaller 20 years ago. And the amount of power that a well pump uses when it turns on, when your fridge turns on and the lights go dim?
I'm on a well.
Okay, so like it's an energy hammer, it's called, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a big spike. So my inverter could handle the well pump running, but it couldn't handle the well pump starting. All right. So I went to the well pump store. I'm like, yeah, I got this problem. Like, what can I do? Like, nothing. Like, get a
Right.
bigger inverter. I'm like, well, that can't be right. And then somebody said, well, you could use a DC well pump instead of an AC well pump, but that doesn't pump as much water as your shower head will use. So you can have like a 5-minute shower, and once your pressure tank's done, then you're out of water. So you can do that. Anyway, but I'm like, that can't be the answer. There's got to be a solution. And I just kept going to place after place after place. And then finally I went to one place, and he's like, well, why don't you just use a soft start well pump? Like I'm an idiot. He's like, why don't you just use that? I'm like, what is a soft start well pump? He's like, well, most motors, they go from 0 to 100 like in a split second, but a soft start just slowly ramps up, so you don't get that energy hammer. So I don't understand, why don't you just use that? I've spoken to a dozen people, and you're the first person to tell me this machine exists.
Right.
And yeah, and it was just so obvious to him. So obvious, so easy, such a simple solution.
And there's a couple of things. Number one, that's what makes you an entrepreneur, is you're just going to keep hammering away at it till you find the answer, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of tenacity comes with being an entrepreneur, and there's a lot of just, hang up and call again attitude.
Yes.
You just got to keep with it. And not every entrepreneur has that, but it is one of the things that can make you a little bit more successful.
Oh, you gotta have it. You gotta have it. And yes, I do cry sometimes, but you have to tear it out and then get up. Yeah,
off the grid is not easy either. I'm not off the grid, but I'm on a well, and our electric goes down quite a few times every year, and we have a generator and some backup stuff. And as you know, a big greenhouse growing dome. So
that's right. Yeah. So how do you incorporate empathy into your marketing strategies? And can you share an example of where that made a significant impact?
Yeah, so I think the big thing that I would call empathy is having empathy for yourself as the marketer, as the business owner, as the salesperson, that you don't have to be everything to everybody. You don't have to do it a certain way. You don't have to sell. You don't have to be like this jackass kind of person, excuse me, right? When we have our own heart and our own empathy for ourselves, well, it's just going to be more natural. So when I work with clients, very often they're like, well, I know I'm supposed to go get Instagram. And I'm like, why? Talk to me, talk this through with me. Maybe you do. Maybe it's a good strategy, and maybe it's not for you. Let's talk it through. They're like, well, everybody says I have to be on Instagram, and I'm not on Instagram. And, and then you get all this self-conflict, and you're like internal, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, don't, right? So I think the empathy starts with us knowing who we are, what we need, what our best marketing strategy is. You could be on Instagram or not. There's a million ways to market. It depends on where does your audience hang out? What do you like to do? How are you going to be able to sustain it? All of those things. So I would start there.
Wow. So it sounds like that's a great answer. No one's ever spun it that way before. So that was a great insight. Thanks for sharing that. And it sounds like every market is different, but do you have a favorite platform, or is it always?
I do. And I'm on Facebook, and I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. I'm also on Instagram and sort of on TikTok and sort of on LinkedIn and sort of on Threads and sort of everywhere. Okay. But mostly because I've been on Facebook for so long, right. I know it inside and out. I don't have to think about it. I just get on and post something. But I try to follow my own advice, and I know that some of my audience hangs out on Instagram, and so I try to do Instagram.
Okay. What do you think the future of books is? Do you think?
I don't know. I ask everybody else. I want to ask you, what do you think the future of books is? I've been studying this for a long time. Fiction is growing. People love fiction. It's a category that's growing leaps and bounds. I don't think AI books, I think there's a place for AI, but, AI books are flooding the market right now, and right. Amazon and Google Books and everybody is like, getting so many complaints, and we get our books ripped off, and we have to follow copyright violations with Amazon and Google and everything all the time. And that will settle out.
Right.
But the real future of books, I don't know if we can go into a holodeck.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
right? Or, if you want to read about, I don't know, World War II, which I don't, but that's what popped into my head. Do you want to go into a holodeck? And maybe that was a really bad example.
That's a
You
really
want
bad
to,
example.
you want to
No.
experience Rome and the Trevi Fountain? Are you going to
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
up a book about it? Are you going to go there? Are you going to go onto a holodeck? I mean, I still love reading. Lots of people still love reading, but I wish I knew the real answer. And
Yeah.
everybody I talk to gives me a different one. I mean, I've
Yeah,
talked to
it's
big, big publishers and editors at the big five companies, and they're like, books will never go away. Maybe not. Paramount sold Simon and Schuster recently, like this last week, I think.
okay. It's just everything's just changing. It seems fast. Because like has television gone away like cable TV?
Yeah,
Like I know.
yeah, no, forget it. Like my dad watches cable TV sometimes, and I was visiting, and I'm like, "What? You got? What's the commercial? Like what? Why are you watching this? Are you kidding me?" And so you
Yeah.
have to remember. So it was only been 6 months we've really had ChatGPT, and it's only
Yeah.
been 4 where it's really been the newest version, right? Like April or something,
That's right.
May.
Yep.
Look how quickly that has changed everything.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Because I think even me, like I watch a lot of Netflix, and I think Netflix is becoming old school now. I think that might be like phasing out. More people are just doing YouTube and like different things like that.
Oh, I have two teenagers in my house still, and they're on Reddit and YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny with me and books, I love going on vacation and I'll bring like 3 books and I will go through all 3 books. Like I'm a voracious reader, but for some reason when I'm at home, I I'll read marketing books and stuff, but I don't really read for pleasure as much, which is
Right, but was that
bizarre.
different a decade ago?
No. Um, no. I I don't know. This is like an internal question I've always had for myself. Like, I love going on vacation and reading. Why don't I just read at home? Yeah. Because I think reading is more of a commitment, and I don't want to tell myself that I'm committing to not doing any work. Where I can just flick on the TV for just a minute and take a break, and a minute turns into 2 hours. But
But
but I
reading
didn't
didn't
commit to
used
that
to
two
be a
hours in the front.
commitment,
What's that?
right? Reading 20 years ago, reading wasn't a commitment. Reading was just something you did.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just kind of curious as to where books are gonna end up.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew. I mean, for now, they're here. For now.
Yes. Yes. All right. Let's see. What else can I ask you here? Can you share one actionable marketing strategy or tip that our listeners can implement today to start seeing like results today?
All right. The thing that works for me is to be real personal. And you've been around a while. So this is kind of called the Dean Jackson email for anyone who's been around a while in these circles.
Okay. Yep.
But you put something in the subject line that says, "Hey, are you still interested in marketing?" Or I might say, "Are you still trying to write your book?" And then I'll write, an email that's like 2 or 3 sentences. And I'll send it to my whole list. And
Okay.
I'll get 100 responses. "Hey, how did you know I've been thinking about you? Wow, it's so nice of you to reach out, Michelle," right? And I've sent it to thousands of people, but it sounds so personal.
Okay.
And that's how I want it to be. I want it to be personal. I want it to be like they feel like I've reached out to them. And then I will answer each one individually, say, I'm thinking about you. I'm always thinking about all my clients. Is it time to talk again? Tell me what's going on, right? And that usually results in conversation, which will result in some sales. but it's back to being personal, connect with people. Sure, GPT chat can write your newsletter, but you don't need it to reach out to people.
So what if you don't have a list? What can you do?
Do the same thing on social. For people that don't have, I work with a lot of people who are over 50, right?
Okay.
And a lot of those people don't even really want to do social or don't have social. Even younger people, too. I mean, now everybody's kind of burned out on it, I think, or a lot of people are getting burned out on it. You can go to a library and do a free course. You can go to a coffee shop and and put up a flyer and say, "Hey, I'm doing a 20-minute presentation about marketing or weight loss. Come listen to me." You can, ask your friend to hold an old-fashioned Tupperware party. I mean, really, it's connect with people, right? Open a farm stand and put your lemonade sign up, and while you're there, talk about how you can also help other people market their lemonade.
Wow. Yeah. So actually, I think that's I think COVID made this worse, but like we don't want to have like we're afraid to have that actual real human connection now.
Yeah,
Like
COVID
we
made it
want to
worse.
have this screen to
Yeah,
separate us.
and the phone. So I found it interesting. You and I were having a hard time connecting today, and your phone number was there. If you have problems, here's my phone number. And I texted you. I'm like, why don't I just pick up the phone and call? I'm like, oh, what happened? What happened to the? It's like it's almost rude now for some generations, right? Why are you calling me? Right? Why don't you just text? And so I'm never sure anymore whether you're supposed to text or call or Zoom or send a telepathic message or email. And COVID made all of that worse. Like
Yeah.
some people are like, don't talk to me. There's generational pieces to that. There's technology pieces to that. Yeah.
So I live in rural Canada. Well, I'm in Quebec, which is the French province, but I live in an Irish community. I was Irish settled. And
Wow.
all of what's really cool, my neighbors, one of my neighbors, the reason he has his property is because the Queen deeded it to him. So the Queen said, if you clear this land and farm it, I'll give it to you. Like
Nice.
that's how most of the families up here, they're still here, right?
Wow.
And and because of the generational thing, like it's gone 3 generations, but now the 4th generation doesn't want to farm anymore. And plus, farming doesn't really work like that anymore. Like it's all big cattle operations, right? It's
Right.
really hard
Right.
for oh my gosh, like I talked to my neighbors and they talk about how much a steak costs in the store now, but they're like, we're still getting the same price for our beef that we were getting 20 years ago. Like, we're not
Right.
selling our cows anymore, but the price of a hamburger, the price of steak has gone up tenfold. Anyway, so most of my neighbors are in their 70s and 80s, and we don't talk on the phone. If we need something, we drive. We have to drive because it's so, like my neighbors we're a mile away from each other. But if I need help from my neighbor, I drive to his house and I knock on his door and I sit there and I have a coffee or a beer with him for 20, 30, 40 minutes before I can tell him why I'm there. Like that's how we work. Like it's pretty
Right.
cool. We're way old school. We're
Yeah.
way because yeah, the phone is just way too modern and we don't like to use it. My one neighbor asked me, this is like going back 5 or 6 years, if I'm on that internet thing. He just asked
Yeah.
me.
And here's the thing. When your well goes down and your internet goes down and you don't have power because the trees have taken down your power lines, you guys are all going to still function.
Yeah,
You're going to figure out how to make it and how to help each other and come together in community. And I
that's
live
right.
in kind of a similar community. I'm not off grid quite like that, but I am in the
Yeah,
mountains.
yep,
And we all, trees come down, and it's my neighbor out there with a chainsaw clearing the tree. It's not anybody from any state or government place, right?
yeah.
And I think there's some resilience there that we have lost that comes from connecting with our community that we all need. That in some instances, COVID made it stronger for some people
Okay,
and disconnected it for some people, right?
right.
And I do think we have to. I love the internet. I make my living off Facebook more or less, right? It's where I
Yep.
connect with my people.
Yep.
And I also understand that we have to come in community because we don't know what's coming tomorrow. And that's the way we're all going to be able to continue and have resilient lives.
Yeah. Because it's just funny because where I live now, I know all of my neighbors in a 5 mile radius, and I
Yeah,
consider them friends in a 5 mile radius. But like in university, I lived in an apartment building. I didn't know who my neighbor across the hall was.
right.
Like, no idea. Didn't know their name,
And
and
which do you prefer?
it's much better having that human connection. And like I say, we don't take advantage of one another, but like I say, I know, like, this is a terrible, horrible, horrible story, but I had an old dog, 18-year-old dog, and I went into the woods and I came out, and my dog was on the ground. He had had a stroke, and we live in the middle of nowhere, and a vet's so far away. And
Right,
so, I went to my neighbor. I'm like, my dog had a stroke. He's not dead. Can you help me? Right. And
right,
that's a pretty significant thing to ask somebody to help you with. And he's like,
right.
I got it, Mike. Here, you go away. When you come back, it'll be take care. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, that's the type of support that we can provide each other in this situation. And so is there any way that we can start to foster that support with strangers who aren't familiar with that degree of connection?
Oh, I'm not an expert in this. Ask me something about book marketing. In terms of, you when you build your business, though, yeah, I'll kind of bring it back around with
Okay,
marketing
perfect.
and building your business. I think having that human connection is really what we're talking about. If you
Okay,
can not be scared to pick up the phone or text or email or walk down to the local post office and actually talk to the person across the counter a little bit, you're going to do better in business and in life. And I think that's
perfect.
really the message and that's not always easy. And in this um, level of anxiety on the planet, it's not always easy. So be
That's right.
kind to yourself and grow a little bit and understand we all need human connection.
Perfect. Let's end on that. If any of my listeners how do my listeners reach out to you for your support, and what can you do for them?
MichelleCoaches.com. Yeah, MichelleCoaches.com is my website.
Okay.
And you can get to my publishing company, you can get to me, you can get to Facebook, MichelleCoaches.com. Michelle with two L's.
So,
French.
who can you help the most right now?
Um, Somebody who has a book inside of them and knows it's part of their message and they want to get their message out into the world, whatever that is. Weight
Okay.
loss, holistic health, it's usually nonfiction,
Okay.
right? Trauma related, anything. And they want to use their book and more to get their message out. That's what I do. Big umbrella. How does your book
Yep.
fit? Maybe a TED Talk, maybe a podcast, maybe getting on podcasts, right? Let's figure out how to get your message out and where does the book fit in that.
Perfect. And I'll put all your links in the show notes so people can find you nice and easy, and reach out to you.
All right. This is a blast. I can't wait to share it.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. I'm so happy you're on the show.
Yeah. I'm glad we connected. Have fun up there in Canada. I want to come visit. Sounds great.
This year has been bad for mosquitoes, but that's what I miss about the mountains of Colorado, the
Yeah.
lack of mosquitoes. But we have less cougars here, so
Right.
so
Okay.
there is that. All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. And that is a wrap for this episode of Because Business is Personal. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget to take advantage of my two special offers. First, you can get a free copy of my best-selling book, Empathic Marketing. You just pay for the shipping. Or you can get a 50% discount on my gap analysis session with the coupon code podcast. Just head over to www.becausebusinessispersonal.com or check the show notes for details. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to follow, subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with others who might benefit. Your support means the world to us, so stay tuned for our next episode where we'll continue to delve into the intersection of empathy and marketing strategy. Remember, because business is indeed personal, every connection counts. Until next time, see you then.